Great defeaters, new and old, welcome back to a very special edition of the breakdown with your host, BaseDaKID, Tony, the Pugilist boy. We are the children of the game. Tony, how you doing?
I'm feeling good, fitting well, mate. Bit quiet in my gym tonight. You could imagine a fair few of the boys were out on dates, so meant that I had a kind of easy ride today. I was pleased to say. So yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. Listen, real quick, just before we start, want to big up to all of the new members in the channel. I'm gonna get to yours shortly. Tony, check your messages while I do that. All right.
Check my messages.
Yeah. What's up? Okay, so who have we got in the building? Right. So big up to Mr. A, big up to Muller, big up to Danny, Fight Fan TV. JD05, blessings to you, Hot Pies as well. Jonah 31 and Jay Lanks, all big up and much respect to you for being with us. Untraceable, I see you as well, and Chris Collymore, blessings, one and all. Right now, we are gonna pretty much get straight into things so that we have a bit more time for the special guest later on. So should we start with boxer or should we start with PBC?
Let's start with boxer.
Okay, now I only particularly want to. All right, first of all, I guess I want to address Caroline Dubois and her fight against what was her name, Faris Mashoudi. Ultimately, it's not really one that I'm too keen or willing to break down. Caroline did what she needed to do. It was a pretty, it was a one-sided affair. Mashoudi pretty much tucked up behind the guard, tried to catch and counter with the left with the overhand left from time to time, but was just outmatched. She was a last minute opponent after two other opponents fell out, so not really much there. With Caroline, they're probably going to need to just move her up the rankings, get her some really stiff competition moving forward. Maybe not former world champs, but people that have challenged for a title, maybe top 15 girls, and yeah, just sort of put her on that trajectory because she's too good for the last minute opponents at this day and age. What do you reckon?
Yep, totally in agreement. Can't say anything more than that.
Okay, big ups to Yams. I see you in the chat as well. Bless up. Okay, so I guess right, that's the only one I saw that fight late. So if we go Tyler Denny, Brad Pauls, real quick. How much of that did you see?
Zip.
Okay, you didn't see it. Okay, cool. So we can fly through that one as well. Pretty much now in my breakdown video, I had pretty much said that I thought it was going to be closer on the cards than it was, but I did think Tyler Denny would win. I've said that he almost feels like that gatekeeper to like the next level, and in being that gatekeeper, he's also now got himself in position for that British title. Being southpaw and being shorter than a lot of his opponents means that he's always kind of able to get in and under their shots. He's very diligent, he's got a great engine on him, and he seems to make weight pretty well. He does well with keeping his lead foot on the outside for the most part as well, but there is occasions when he does bring it onto the inside and like he'll ambush into his opponent, loop something to the body. He invested in the body quite well throughout pretty much the whole fight, and every time Brad Pauls tried to catch him in a clinch and have a sort of a wrestling match with him, Tyler was always equal to that tactic and that measurement. So yeah, pretty much with regards to that fight in itself, I mean, I had it still closer than the judges did, but Tyler Denny was the clear winner. As I said, foot placement was impressive throughout the night. He just outworked Pauls, who didn't really throw anything like what he usually does. He's normally a lot more active than that. and it's either he was scared to let his hands go, maybe the stage got to him, or maybe he was just nullified by work that I didn't actually see from Tyler Denny moving forward. So got a big ups to him. Now he's the mandatory for the British title, which is held by Denzel Bentley, who's obviously taking on is it Jenkins he's taking on, or Smith? Anyway, he's got a defense in on the 15th of April. After that fight, he should then I guess Denny will be in prime position. But I know that Denny said that he actually wants to fight before then. He doesn't want to wait until July or August potentially when that next fight could occur. So got to big him up for being active. If he can get back out in April, maybe even early May, just to sort of coincide with that Denzel Bentley timeline, then yeah, you get that one on in the summer. That's one I would definitely look to be in attendance for if I'm around. What do you what do you think of Tyler Jenny's trajectory and sort of where he's going to moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, he's your workhorse fighter. He's your, you know, he has no frills. He just works hard, and quite often, he's the guy that's going to beat talent because he works hard. Um, I said I didn't watch much of this fight. The little bit that I did watch, that was what I noticed again about Tyler Denny. He does the work. You know, Paul to me was trying to pick shots, whereas Tyler Denny just seemed to just know, look, I'm just going to work you. Hard work, pressure, constant flurries of attacks. That seemed to do the job. That was the what I did see of the fight. That's what I noticed was basically the last few rounds. Denny he's outworking Paul's, and that to me has been the thing that's been sort of his remit in the game. I'm gonna work hard if you don't work hard, and outwork you. So you know, I feel like he'll give anybody hard work just because that's his remit. You know, he's not a huge puncher. He's not a stylist per se, but he's just going to work hard.
Okay, so I'm assuming you did see the Vidal Riley fight, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you take that one. What did you think of the performance of him and Anis Taj, and what do you think he does moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he comes into this fight from the Misfits program, right?
No, Vidal Riley's a proper amateur. He was training KSI initially before they started doing the Misfits, but he's a proper amateur boxer with a proper pedigree.
But his last fight was on a Misfits show.
No, he was on Sky Sports Boxer.
Okay,
Come on, Tony, you got to at least do some of the research.
Oh man,
You're probably thinking of what's his name? Virgo, what's his name? Idris Virgo. That's probably
Idris Virgo. That's it. My bad. Anyway, so in this fight, I was looking at Tyler Denny. Let's get this right. Vidal Riley. He's up against this guy, Taj, who he looks like a strong man, Taj. It looks like he's a big guy. He looks like a strong man. Looks like he can hold licks. And to looking at the early rounds, obviously it's only 4 rounds out of 8 that get completed. He looks like he wants it. And he's Taj looks like he wants it. He's up for the battle. So Vidal has got his work cut out. He's he ain't gonna get an easy ride on this one, but he manages to make his boxing tell over Anis. But Anis is in this. He's in this for the 4 rounds that he's in it. There's no round where you go, well, Vidal's got this, over and above this guy. He's got, good boxing technique. But I think Anis is causing Vidal, I think, a lot of or significant amounts of worry until the 4th round when it's effectively comes to an end.
Okay, you done?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I disagree with you on most of that, except for there was one part in I believe it was the second round, towards the end of it was sort of like the last third of the second round, where Anis Taj he caught Vidal Riley. I think it was with an overhand right, which sort of cupped him around here, and then he
Mm-hmm.
tucked up and had to ride out a bit of a storm. But outside of that, I mean, Riley was just first at everything. He was quicker with the jab. He was a little bit too anxious to land that backhand at times. But pretty much every time they had an exchange, Vidal Riley came off first. He came off best. He would dart in, spearing jab. Maybe he might even catch him with the backhand from time to time. Then he'll spring back out before Anis Taj tries to swing wild, because he was swinging wildly throughout the majority of the bout. There was very little times where like he went to throw something and to try and set something up. It was always very much it was reactionary, or it was okay, I'm gonna take this shot, but I'm gonna throw this one and just hope it lands, and then if it does, then I'm going to pounce on you, which is what he was able to do on one particular occasion. He was game. It was definitely an exciting fight, probably the most entertaining fight of the night, like pound for pound. Like as you said, it was a shame that it ended in essentially at the very start of the fourth round. And yeah, it just became a point that he um, to be honest, we also got to credit Vidal Riley, because he ultimately, he caught him with a brilliant punch. It wasn't a grazing, it didn't have any of the forearm or any of the tape that lands. It was a clean punch that basically just split Anis Taj's eye clean open. Now his corner did quite a good work on the cut itself and said, all right, you can, we'll fix it, because it wasn't bleeding at that time. But it just came to a point where they said, yeah, the doctor said wave it off, and East Taj was like, no, give me one more round, give me one more round. The doctor was like, yeah, no, this one's not going to get any better. And I hope that he can either run it back potentially, or he definitely will get another payday out of this, because obviously he came to fight, came to scrap. It was a good, and it was an enjoyable scrap while it lasted. It's just a shame it only lasted 3 rounds.
Yeah. And the thing was, in I mean, you were obviously at the fight. From the TV point of view, we got to hear the corner of Taj, and they were very, very animated. They were very much in the. We think our guy's gonna beat this guy. You've got everything. We've trained hard for this. Just go out this next round, and you can beat him. I kind of was like, I felt sorry for Taj, really, because he clearly came out, and the corner clearly meant for him to try and cause an upset. They were very upset at the fight having to be stopped. Obviously, they did their very best to try and contain that cut in between the round. But yeah, alas, it wasn't to be. But I certainly think, I've seen enough of Taj for there to say, yeah, let's run that one back.
Cool. All right, so moving on to well, no, it's not even the co-main, it was the chief support of the night, which was Zach Chelli versus Anthony Sims. Now, this was a very, very, very disappointing fight. All the way up until I think round 6/7. The first 5 rounds of this fight were, there was a lot of jockeying for position within sort of rounds 1 to 2. There is an argument that you could potentially have given those rounds to Anthony Sims, although I gave him the second, and that was the only round I gave him in the first half of the fight. He was, I mean, look, came in with a sort of a style, a very amateurish looking style, just bouncing sort of front to back, almost like the amateur European style that you used to see from someone like Vladimir Klitschko, before he really got with Manny, with Manny Stewart and those type of people. It just really it just looked very. It looked to a point where okay, he was trying to stay on a certain rhythm, but while he was on that rhythm, he just couldn't do. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't pumping his jab out. He wasn't being first. He wasn't even counter punching. I thought in the first one, I was like, okay, he just wants to see what Zach Chelly's got by way of power, and then maybe from there he'll kind of just start getting to work and potentially like go through the gears, because I know that he's got ability. I've seen it against people that are better than Zach Chelly, in my personal opinion. But ultimately, it came down to heart and desire, and Zach Chelly wasn't to be denied. He just wanted to outwork Anthony Sims throughout the entire fight. He was landing. He almost couldn't miss with his overhand left. It was almost like a check. It was like a check left hook that he kept throwing, and he wasn't checking anything at that time. It was literally Sims was just there to get hit by it pretty much all night, not counter it. And even though he said beforehand, Zach Chelly is a person that when he throws, he squares up and he leaves his head on center line. He at no point in the fight did he actually attempt to capitalize on that. At his even on his best moments in the 8th round, where he did have a lot of success and clearly won that round, he was still getting caught with stuff in that round, Sims, just because it's almost like he had the one bit of urgency in that round, but after that it was like, okay, well, it's like I don't know what's next. And I saw on Twitter, not Twitter, I saw on Instagram yesterday, he was like saying, I can't even remember what he said, but just like, oh, back to the drawing board, or back to working, or whatever it was. But the tweet and the picture just looked very much like, almost like he thinks, oh well, I should have won, but I didn't. It is what it is. It didn't seem like I should have performed a lot. There was no like self-reflection in, and I just couldn't work out like, is this really where we're at now? Because at the age of 27, you don't have the same excuses that you had when you were 23, with Matchroom. Like, you're an older guy now. You've said you've got all this talent, all this ability, and you're not showing it on the stages when it matters the most. And getting beaten by a domestic, I'm not saying domestic in terms of British level, but a guy who's the English champion at super middleweight, that's a bit of a damning indictment. If he was the British or the European, or one of those, the IBF European, WBO European, maybe there's a case to be made there. But this is a guy you said is nowhere on your level. You've seen his style hundreds of times. He ain't seen yours, but his style beat you. And I just don't really know where we go after that. But what was your thoughts on his performance and Zach Chelly's performance? Because we got to give Zach Chelly he wanted it more. He done what he needed to do.
Yeah. So this was again one of those scenarios where hard work beats talent if talent don't work hard. And like you said, we've seen Anthony Sims before against better opponents look much, much better. So it's like, where's this performance come from? Look, I thought the first 2 rounds, I thought he was feeling his way into the fight. He comes out with like that Philly shell, with a very sort of pumpy style. He's up on his toes. He's pumping up and down with the Philly shell, and you just can see the shots, but he's not quite He's not quite getting there. He's looking at it. He's looking at it, but he throws a couple of shots at it, and you think all you have to do is move your feet in. Literally, yeah. If you're pumping that style, then what you need to do is you pump up and in, up and in, up and in. Yeah. It's a style. I'm trying to think who it's reminiscent of. It'll come to me. But anyway, he's pumping up, but he's not quite using his jab effectively. It's pouring. He's not, he's kind of using it as a foil, a fencing foil against Chelly's jab. But then he doesn't actually get into gear. He doesn't start to, close the distance. And then when Chelly decides, you know what, you've shown me nothing, he then starts to take on the aggressive stance in the fight. And at that point, you kind of think, well, okay, what he's looking for is a check hook. Yeah, he's waiting for Chelly to come in, and you can see it. It's like it's there. He's going to come in with his head ducked down because he has this habit of ducking his head down. Yeah. And he mentioned it before the fight. He was saying how Chelly's a one-trick pony. Well, if he's a one-trick pony, you should have worked out that trick. And he quite simply didn't, because Chelly comes in, yeah, head forward. It's a bad technique. And if it's a check hook he's looking for, then often it's there, but he's not throwing it. You know, often he's coming in with his head down, yeah, looking to come to the body, check hook, uppercut. You know, you have to see that. If you've looked at any Zach Chelly fights in the past, you're gonna see that is a certain way a guy presents himself. There's an antidote to that. And if you can tell me that he's a one-dimensional fighter before the fight, then you should have seen that his modus operandi is gonna be, I'm gonna come in low down, I'm gonna throw my left hook and my overhand right. And the left hook and overhand right just clocked all night long. And Anthony Sims at no point managed to work it out. And it was very disappointing because, you know, look, as you said, all credit to Zach Chelly. Give him his flowers. He won the fight. He did what he had to do because he worked harder. And hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. I was literally thinking to myself, is he biding his time thinking I'm going to come hard in the second half of the fight? But he never did. So that's how I felt that fight was, you know, very disappointed, really. You know.
I hear you. No more needs to be said. Like I said, we'll have to just see what he does next, if he can come back from this. I mean, he said he wanted to be based over here. I don't know if that performance is going to get him a call back from any of the other guys, unless it's just to be the B-side to, you know, to lose to somebody, which is clearly not what you want. But hey, we move on. Okay, so main event, Adam Azim versus Santos Reyes. Now, I said in my video that this to me was like the most competitive, one-sided fight I've ever seen. And I don't know if competitive was the right word then. I still don't know if it's the right word now, but that's the one I'm going to use purely because Adam Azim won every single round without much issue, but there was times in this fight, even well, in every round he was made to do something. He was made to work. He wasn't allowed to just have it all his own way. Even in the first the first 3 rounds when he had his most amount of success, but he pretty much was. He had a good jab. He was like his movement was nice. Santos was just they build Santos as being 5'10" at one point, and I was like, no, because they build Adam Azim as being the same height. I said if Adam's 5'10", Santos is about 5'6", if that, because there was a clear height discrepancy between the two of them. There was a range discrepancy and there was a speed discrepancy. Adam Azim had obviously he had the power on his side. He had the speed, he had the footwork, he had the range and the distance control. But in the second half of the fight, I feel that when he started maybe feeling the pressure of the rounds just a little bit, because obviously he's never really gone the rounds before, so he's having to manage them for the first time, whereas Reyes has been these rounds. And as I said prior, like these Nicaraguan fighters, the Mexican fighters, the Argentinian fighters, they are tough. So you're not just getting them out of there 2-3 rounds and it's over. Like you're gonna have to work. And he was making Adam Azim work. The one thing that Adam Azim has got to obviously keep an eye on is the fact that, especially as the taller guy, he can't keep his he's got to keep his chin tucked down when he's fighting shorter guys, especially. I mean, taller guys as well, but if you're fighting someone that's shorter than you, that's going to be coming from a trajectory upwards to always catch you, that chin's got to stay tucked. Because there were several times he got caught flush on the chin, and it's probably only because either he was just out of range to get the full impact, or Santos just doesn't hit hard enough to really trouble him. Yeah, if it comes to someone else with a bit more spite, it's gonna, it's gonna be a bit more of a rocky ride. I did say that prior to that, if because the guy's only got 3 knockouts in 12 fights, Adam might even test and say, you know what, I feel I probably can take the power. So maybe I can be a bit defensively lax to try and get him out of there. But ultimately, that creates bad habits, which is something we don't particularly want. But that being said, he got pushed. He got made to do all 10 rounds at a distance, at a pace. Santos Reyes kept coming forward. He kept trying to land. And it was a very good learning fight for Adam Azim. And I think that will just stand him in good stead moving forward. I know a lot of people have been critical because he didn't get the knockout, but like, realistically, not everyone can get knocked out. I think he hurt his right hand at one point. I even noticed it on the night, especially for rounds 9 to 10. He just wasn't throwing that. He wasn't throwing that hand at all. I even said it to the people I was with. It's like, he's hurt his hand because he's not using it at all, or he'll throw it once in a while. But he's doing everything with the left. He's doing everything with the left. It wasn't like, oh, he's using that to set things up. It's like, no, like the right hand's inactive at this moment. So I'm not sure from what round it happened, but I noticed it sort of towards the back end of the fight, and he did well to manage the distance and manage the pace with just the one hand. But also doing that spring, that that coiling left hook that he kept trying all night was something that you can't continuously do the same move and not expect your opponent to get wise to it, because there's times where Santos actually started seeing it, started keeping the glove high and trading with him and actually catching him when he was trying to execute. The first couple of times he'd done it, it worked a treat, but after that it's like you kept going back to the same well. And even if that is because you had a damaged hand, you've got to find other ways to set that shit up. And there's no way that you should literally be twisted, your whole half of your body be twisted around like a spring, giving off a telltale sign that you're about to throw a left hook from the ground up. But that's all stuff he'll learn. He's 20 years old. He's got more than enough time to iron out those kinks. Overall, it was a good performance, and it was a performance that he needed. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy to see him carry on his journey and see how far he can carry on progressing and going this year. What did you reckon? You're on mute.
Not much different to yourself. Again, very good performance by them. He is, to me, he looks like the British Ryan Garcia. Super fast hands, very accurate pinpoint sharpshooter. As you alluded, I think he just throws just too many 1-2s. It's literally 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. I'd like to see 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8 even. If you want to see about how to mix combinations, go watch a few Sugar Ray Leonard videos. Literally. Go watch a few Sugar Ray Leonard videos. Yeah, you can watch Leonard Hagler. You can watch Leonard Hearns. They'll all show you how you mix punches to maximum effect when you're a sharpshooter like that. And yeah, good luck to him. I'm look forward to the next fight.
Okay, great. Do you want to go to the one fight over in the US that we was looking at, or?
For sure.
All right, and this is the one that you watched, so I'll let you take lead on this. I did see it, but I'll join after you.
Okay, so as you see, it was a WBC Super Featherweight Championship. Ray Vargas coming in 36-0 against the 19-2 O'Shaquie Foster. Vargas with the height reach, he had the length reach, he had the jab reach. O'Shaquie obviously had to overcome that in the fight. This fight, I was expecting Vargas to dominate because of his physical attributes. But O'Shaquie just basically seemed to have his number. It was one of those situations where the shorter, stockier guy was able to manage distance better than the longer guy. A lot of Vargas's shots fell short. This looks like a knockdown, but it wasn't. It was one of several slippages where Vargas ended up on the canvas because he was in a hold with Foster, and Foster basically would end up pushing him down to the floor. But what we found in the fight was basically O'Shaki used good fundamentals. He was able to slip jab. He was able to stay at a range of Ray Ray Vargas's jab and use good combinations on the inside when he gets through the jab. You know, he used good side to side movement to slip either side of the jab. And then when he gets inside, he does his work. You know, he works inside to the body and then he comes up over to the top of the head with the overhand right. It was one of them fights where you had to do that kind of work because Ray Vargas, as you know, as you can see, he has already a very good pedigree. He's a world title holder. He's got very good boxing skills. So O'Shaki had to perform at a very high rate in order to overcome those natural gifts that Ray already has, and he does them very well. I was very impressed by his all-round game. Defensively, he was very, very strong. You know, he does what a lot of guys I find aren't capable of doing, which is reading jabs and either slipping them or parrying them. You know, a lot of the time, you know, shots aren't hitting because he's blocking them, parrying them, he's taking them on the shoulder, and then he's moving around into a position where he can offload his own work. So very good fight to watch. I thought it was very entertaining. O'Shaki Foster now becomes a world title, WBC world titleist, and we can look forward to seeing him in, entertaining fights going forward. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, so this fight, one of the main things that was I saw was that Ray Vargas is used to, obviously, as you say, being sort of the bigger guy, being the more imposing person on his opponent, but he's not used to being in there with someone that's got a jab. Number one, a jab that's better than his, but a jab that's actually planted. Like most of the time, people are off balance, or they're walking towards, or they're springing off the ground to sort of get to him. So which lessens the amount of impact that he takes, especially again being so high and being quite awkward in the way he moves. Whereas O'Shaki Foster just had that speed advantage, had obviously the height disadvantage, but that ended up being his big advantage, just because every time he would trade off with Vargas, he made sure that he planted his feet. So every time he hit that jab, like that jab stung, the backhand stung. Like O'Shaki Foster was very good at setting his feet and making sure that he landed power through the shots to say, this isn't going to go your way. You coming up from super bantamweight, I'm a natural 130 guy. You're not coming up here thinking that you're going to be the bigger man. You've got height, but that's it. Everything else is all me. You're going to feel this power, and you're going to feel this speed, and you're going to feel these skills. I just feel like he prepared that fight more diligently as the bigger guy, and he did what the naturally bigger guy should do to the smaller guy, in that you employ a little bit of movement to make sure that you stay defensively responsible, but when it comes time to be on the inside or be in the clinches, you show that my size and my power is gonna tell overall. And it was just one of those very masterful performances. There's very few rounds you could really give Vargas, to be honest. I mean, the two cards, the 116, 112, 117, 111, they were about right. The 109, the 119, 109 one, I think was a bit too wide. Like he definitely got more than one round. But that being said, like Ashaki is he just showed these levels above him at that weight class, at least. Because again, Ray Vargas, everywhere outside of that 126, he probably cleans up the whole division. 130 was a step too far before even defending the 126 belt. Like, doing too much hopping up and down at this point. Stay in one place, cement yourself there, then gradually build up to the next step. So the good thing about him is he's got a belt to go back down to at 126. So he can still be in, the fights against Lee Wood potentially. or you know, you have the Mark Magsayo rematch, the Luis Alberto Lopez fight. If he wants to unify it down at 126, all those fights are there for him. So we can, yeah, we just gotta wait and see kind of what happens with regards to that. But overall, I mean, yeah, Oshaki was a deserved winner, and you know, from someone who's had such a background, sort of a hard coming up as he has, and someone that looks and they exude so much positivity and love, especially from what he's gone through and you know some of the trials and tribulations he's had. Like it was you know, it was a good thing to see, and hopefully this isn't just a flash in the pan victory and he can actually build on it. He said he wants to unify with Cordino or Rakamov. He said he wants, you know, the other 130 guys as well, Navarrete, etc. So hopefully these unifications can be made because he wants to keep testing himself, and I think he's good enough to do it. So, you know, long may it continue. And I have to apologize because I didn't even put those fights from the PBC on my basis picks. I literally forgot that was happening this week. I thought they was happening next week. So but yeah, it was good to watch on the back end. I watched some of them. I watched them all today, so they're all kind of fresh. Even some of the undercard fights, which were quite fun, to be fair. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've really got to say about that.
Cool. Big shout out to Chris Collymore, Skyliner the editor, JD05. Maestro in the house. We see you, bro. Welcome.
Okay, so right, so we had okay, so guys, Shannon is going to be making her way on shortly. I just got the message from her. So here's the rules of engagement. Anyone who's a member, your questions will be read out because we'll see they're shown as a different color on the screen, so we'll notice them. Other than that, we're going to be focused on Shannon and the conversation that we're having, so we may not be looking at the chat particularly. If you want a question and you're not a member, the only way to guarantee one is if you put it in the form of a super chat, because that changes color on the screen. We'll be able to see that. It will divert our eyes to the other screen. We can have a look, and obviously we'll put it up. Any questions, we will put them all up on the screen, but we ask that the great defeaters and the defeated community are sensible and respectful and not stupid. Like, we know the guys here normally aren't trolls or anything, but I'm just letting you know, because if you get cussed out, don't blame us. And to be fair, if we see something that looks a bit outrageous, we won't put it up anyway. Like, we got to respect everyone that comes on the show. They're giving up their time. They got much better things to do than be with us a lot of the time. But this is going to be the first of many. We got to set a good example. So yeah, I'll leave it there, and just give us a few moments. Tony, feel free to just interact with whoever's there for the time being, just while.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Base should be a teacher. He's got a great overview of the expectations today. Yes, well done to Base on reading out the rules and regulations. Hope you all guys took notice of that. There's a bit of back and forth in the chat about the forthcoming potential Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez. My own fate, anyone who knows me will know I'm fully invested on Teofimo. So much though I like Josh Taylor, I'm a Teofimo guy. I'm backing in for the takeover 2.0 or 1.5 according to Maestro, if that's what how he likes to call it.
It's 0.5, man.
Hey, behave yourself. About 0.5. Beat the man. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Who else has got a victory over Lomachenko? Thank you. Enough said.
Do you really want to answer that question? He's not the only one.
He's only one or two, bro. The other guy ain't boxing, so he's irrelevant.
All right. Okay. Shannon, you good? You ready? Okay, you got it there. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a very big. I want to see all the hand claps in the chat. All the emojis, flower emojis. Let's please give it up for Shannon, Chaos Ryan in the building.
Hey guys, you okay?
We're doing very well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna put you on the big screen. Hope you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. All is good.
Cool. All right. So, first things first, how was training?
Training was really good. We're working on some things and I can't wait to get back in the ring to put it all into practice.
Love that.
So can I just quickly jump in here?
Go ahead.
As you can see, Shannon, I'm wearing my my coaching colours at the moment because I, like you, just got out of the gym training the team. Obviously, today is Valentine's Day. It was very quiet in my gym today.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the guys weren't there today. I just had a few guys. What was it like in the gym today? Knowing
to be fair, the gym was actually quite busy, to be fair. The classes, they have MMA classes at the bottom. And that was really busy. And then they've got a gym at the top where everyone was working out. So I think at our gym, everyone's single.
No days off.
I better come over to your gym then.
Okay, so listen, Shannon, I want to just double check something, right? So now I did a Fem Files on you back last year. So I feel like my knowledge should be pretty decent, but just for the people who don't know, so you transitioned from like Taekwondo and kickboxing as an amateur. You was, if I'm correct, you was a world champ in kickboxing. Was that right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. And you went to the GB national team with Taekwondo.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so I did my research is fine. So here's my question: what made you essentially trade feet for fists?
I love the kickboxing. The style that I'd done, you couldn't knock them out. It was semi-contact, points fighting, stop-start. But the reason why I transitioned was, one, because the kickboxing is not in the Olympics, so you can't make a career from it. You can't, go to the Olympics. So there was no goals besides becoming a world champion, a European champion, and then you fight the same people over and over again, and it becomes repetitive and there's no challenges. I then went to the GB Taekwondo for that challenge and to train for the Olympics in Tokyo. I didn't really enjoy it so much. I had a hip injury and I had to come off of the team. Then I thought, what's the next best sport that I can go into that I can, go all the way in? I did one session of MMA and I hated it. And then that's when I fell in love with boxing in 2018, because it's got all the avenues. Boxing's a business, but you can fight, you can do all the business in the ring, and you can do the business outside of the ring. And that allows you to make a career and become a champion.
Brilliant. All right. So another question for you then, with regards to that, because you've been grafting for, like you said, since 2018. So that's almost 5 years coming up pretty much, right? Now, luckily, women's boxing and, the female sport as a whole has kind of grown quite exponentially in that time. Do you feel, because you came in also on the back of the 258 management before you even had your pro fight, so that opens up kind of a lot of avenues for you and you get to be seen from an early point, but did you feel any type of pressure from maybe having eyes on you from the start, where some people get to kind of graft in the background? You had a spotlight on you from the very start, being associated with Anthony Joshua's management team. Did that affect you in any way, or how did you deal with that pressure?
Yeah, no, I did feel pressure, but it was a pressure in terms of no one knew who I was, so I'm coming into this new world, I call it, with only 10 amateur fights. Yes, I have a previous combat background, but the boxers really and truly wouldn't know who I am. So it was a pressure of, I believe in my ability, but it is showing that in my performances for then the boxing world and community to know who Shannon Ryan is. So it was like good pressure to want to do well, so then people know who I am.
Beautiful. Tony, have you got any other questions?
Shannon, it's listed that you're from Watford. Have you lived all your life in Watford?
Yeah, born and bred in Watford, yes.
It's funny because I used to live in Watford myself. Lived on Bushy Mill Lane, number 148, yes. Bushy Mill Lane. And that's where my daughter went to Queen. My daughter went to Queen's School.
Queen's my Girls. Sister went there.
Okay.
But do you know Lincolnsfield Centre?
I do, yeah.
That's where my dad's gym is, on that complex.
Okay.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the club that I'm at now, because I'm in South London, near Croydon in Wallington, the guy that I work with, we're both from Watford, and we started a club there called Callowland.
Okay, yeah, Callowland, yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny that you know, we're both had some time. You know, I've had some time in Watford. I've got a very close affinity to Watford. It's really funny. I mean, I'll tell you a story. I know this is about you, but I'm going to give you a little bit of me that is relatable, because I used to play in a brass band that used to do the halftime entertainment at Watford Football Club.
Okay.
So I got very close with John Barnes and Luther Blissett, who you probably realise are legends in the football game.
I do
at
now.
Watford. Yeah. And then my wife, who I met in Watford, used to look after John Barnes's kids.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, small
That's
world.
Nice. Small world.
But you're a Watfordite, and I mean, you know, what do you think about obviously you know, training in Watford compared to, you know, moving around, coming into you know, the big smoke, you know, training here in London? What's your thoughts about where you train?
Yeah, so I train at Camden Boxing Gym and also Charge Up Gym in Barnet. So I switch between both gyms. Not really in Watford too much. Normally in North London a lot of the time.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
So I got another question off the back of sort of the last one with regards to obviously your promotion with 258 and obviously being on the big boxer platform and everything. So we know that there's a lot of people who try and, you know, like they try and make it. They'll go through that whole grassroots and, you know, they're on all the small hall shows. Have you at any point received any backlash or criticism just for having an eye on you, like from the start, you know, ITV publications before your, you know, your first pro fighter, things like that? Has any of that occurred? And if it has, like, how have you had to sort of deal with it or stay focused on what you're doing?
To be honest, to my face, I've not seen anything. You know, maybe amongst other people to when they talk to themselves, but I've not received any backlash. I think people can see from myself, from my socials, that I put the work in, I work hard, and when a door is there, I knock it down, and I just hustle. I've been hustling since I was 5 years old to get to where I am today. Yeah, it's been a different journey, but I feel like the whole journey I've been on had to happen for me to get to this point. So yeah, I've not personally received anything that I'm aware of.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Oh, we've got a super chat that's come in. Tony, do you want to put that one up? And I guess maybe you can field that question.
Okay, so will Shannon fight a journeywoman in her next fight? Is there anything to do in Montserrat?
Now, I don't know where that comes from, but
I have no idea.
Like,
does any of that mean anything to you?
Yeah, my dad's side is from Montserrat.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's anything to do in Montserrat. I think so. You can get the boat to Antigua and the boat back. But when the volcano erupted, it's not too much to do there now. But I think it's very beautiful. I've seen it online and stuff. In terms of who I will fight next, I'm not 100% sure. That's down to my management and coach. But all I know is every fight that I have moving forward is going to be a step up every time.
So off the back of that, if I may, Base, you set yourself a target of becoming an undisputed world champion within 5 years. I've read.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mindset around that? Tell us a little bit about why 5 years, how you see that playing out, who you think might be the obstacles in the way on that.
I think the obstacles in the way is the business of boxing, how that rolls, how it works.
Mm-hmm.
When I read it back, I was like, oh, 5 years is a long time. In my heart, I believe I can do that quicker. I believe in my ability. I believe in my skill set, and I've got a good team around me to make that happen. But in this sport, we want to enjoy it as well as take it seriously, and I don't want to put no pressure on myself. So given that 5-year goal set, that timeline allows me to enjoy the journey. And if it happens quicker, then, I tick it off quicker and then we move from there.
Now, funny enough, you say that actually. So last year, were you happy with your level of activity? The amount of fights you got out with Boxer, would you have maybe liked more? Do you know kind of what's happening this year? What's your current plan, and are you happy with sort of the way the steps are happening at this time?
Yeah, I think last year was perfect for me. We had 4 fights. We was trying to get the 5th in, but due to the postponement of the all-female card, that then pushed that last one, and we couldn't get that in. I managed to get that last one in November, but anything after that, I just found it was best for me to take that rest and then come back this year. We did want to be out already. We would like another 4 to 5 fights. But again, due to other things going on in the background, I have no fight date at the moment. But yeah, just to get at least minimum another 4 this year, then I'll be happy and satisfied.
Okay, no, because that's something that I was keen to find out, because I know that there's been some other boxers from last year and complained about inactivity and not getting the dates that they want. So just wanted to make sure that you were comfortable with, number one, in your situation at the moment, and you don't know when your first fight of this year will be, but do you have an inkling when it must be by? Like, this is the latest time I have to have my first fight?
April time, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just staying ready now. We've been training since the start of Jan. We're just tapering off right now, still training, but just taking a step back a little bit, and then we'll pick it up and just wait for the news.
Okay. Now you seem to make super flyweight quite comfortably. I was at the weigh-in, the one before last, or the all-female one. You pretty much able to weigh in socks and whatever, so you have no issue really making the weight. Is there any plans to maybe move down to flyweight at some point, or are you just happy to stay at 115 at the minute?
Yeah, we will definitely move down. I think for now, starting out, there's no need to strain my body and not enjoy it. So with my nutritionist, and the team, super flyweight is perfect to start out at. Then we're fueled the whole way through camp. I'm happy, they're happy, and I'm strong. And then once we do what we need to do at super fly, which is collect all the belts, become undisputed champion of the world, then we will move down. We'll mix between the both, because there's only about 1 kilo, I think, difference between them.
Yeah.
So it's not too much.
Nice. All right. Well, look, we've got some more questions that have come in. So JD, this is Josh, one of our new callers from yesterday. So he's basically just saying, guys, make sure you watch Vidal Riley and Leon Wills' interview with Shannon. I'm clearly her biggest fan. So I told you, the great defeaters, they love you in here.
Yeah, he must be my biggest fan to know for a monster, right?
Right, but I did have a question from one of our guys, one of our first members. His name's Mullah, and his question was, if you had to introduce someone to boxing, what's the fight that you'd show them? Mm-hmm. And then secondly, what fight do you feel that boxing needs to happen this year?
Okay, so for the first one, I think the fight that I liked and loved would have been the Floyd and Canelo fight. And that's what I would show people. I think you see Floyd control him, throughout the whole round, and he neutralized him. You see him, capitalize on everything that was happening. And then obviously a fighter goes and watches Canelo now, for example, you can see the vast improvements. You can see that he's gone away and done his studying. So it shows obviously Floyd controlling him and neutralizing him. So you look at that from Floyd's point of view. But then if you take away Canelo's point of view, it's, he lost that fight, but he went away, he studied, and that's what boxers need to do, is study the game.
Lovely. And so secondly, what fight do you feel needs to happen this year?
Well, you probably know I'm a fan of Canelo's, but I would say the Bivol and Canelo fight.
Oh, the rematch, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
168 or 175?
Pardon?
At 168 or 175?
175.
Okay, run it back.
Hey.
Yeah. I think they both have a high level of IQ. So it's when you're watching it, it really is that chess match, going back and forth. And I love fights where you don't know what's going to happen next. So I think that's a fight where, Canelo's coming to win, Bivol's coming to win, and, the high level IQ, the fundamentals that they have, it will be spectacular.
Lovely.
So I'd like to piggyback, if I may, on the back of the answer that you just gave, because you could probably tell by the grey beard that I'm a little bit more senior to yourself, Shannon. So my tutelage of boxing hails back to the 80s, even some fights from the 70s. I'm proper old school. My favorite boxer is Muhammad Ali. But of course, I grew up with the Fab Four in Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Duran, Marvin Hagler. You've mentioned Canelo and Floyd, who I consider to be, modern day greats. But if you had to look back, I mean, are you a student who looks back at the older generations, and have you got any fighters of that older generation that you think, if I take my what I've learned back to older fighters, is there anyone in the old age that the old age, I'm making it sound like the prehistoric times.
She gets what you mean.
Yeah, I do. I think in my defense, where I've always kind of watched boxing, but I don't know the greats like that. Of course, I'm aware of who they are. And that's where my studying of the game is still happening. I'm now going back in time. So I'm not quite there yet with, who should fight from that era.
Okay.
Ask me next time, and I'll have that reeled off for you.
All right.
I'm happy you even said next time. So at least we're doing a decent enough job that you might come back. We appreciate it. There's one last question from the defeaters, and then there's just a clip I want to show you afterwards, if you don't mind. Yeah. So this is from North Bank Brent. He's saying, with a surname like Ryan, does Shannon have any Irish roots?
No, I don't. But my middle name's Michaela, so it's all Irish. But yeah, no Irish roots, none.
Okay. All right. Well, so what I wanted to do, because as I said, I was at your very last fight, the one at the Ali Pali, and funny enough, I was vexed on the whole way going up there because I thought that the traffic was going to make me miss the fight. Luckily, I got there as you was doing your ring walk, so brilliant timing.
And then she took 15 minutes, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. But so what I'd done, obviously, I recorded and we basically spoke about your fight in the previous segment, which I did want you to see, just so you can kind of see how we break down fights and what we kind of, look at. And then essentially, you can just let us know if you thought what we said was fair, unfair, harsh, nice, whatever. 1 second, I just need to get this file. All right, here we go. Yeah, so let's talk about the Shannon Ryan fight real quick. So I've only got loaded up 1 minute worth of footage here, but it's should be enough for basically everyone to kind of see how she broke it down. So 1 second. Okay, so first things first, this is in the 5th round, and there was basically Shannon at this point just started lighting up Ivanova, like quite. She was probing behind the jab, like rather masterfully for like the first 2 to 3 rounds. As you can see there, she had a very spearing jab. Still probably employs a little bit more movement than what is necessary. And her shell guard is quite good, to be fair. Like she can work on it a little bit, but she's got really good head movement. She rides shots really well. Like those old school David Haye comparisons that I used to put out, I feel they're very apt. The only difference is obviously David wasn't a former kickboxer, whereas Shannon is. But I was slightly disappointed the knockout didn't come in this fight, to be totally honest, because the movement was great, sometimes in slightly excessive. As you can see that there's some parts where maybe she didn't need to move as much, but from from halfway through the 4th round, going into the 5th and even the 6th, I actually was speaking with my friend Sasha, who we went to go see it with. She actually said to her, if she literally goes into that high guard right now and walks this girl down, she can get her out of here, because the girl's tired, she's getting pressed, the defense is starting to be leaky. You don't even really have to worry about the shots coming back because they're not as hard anything, plus you block it all here. tuck up in that high guard and then dig to the body. Because one thing Shannon wasn't doing enough of, I feel, was body work. I feel if she was landing in the body a lot more, the head would have followed, and the girl definitely would have dropped. That being said, it was a really, really good performance. Like I said, if you guys haven't seen it, I would implore you to do so. Like, she is definitely going to be a future star in the flyweight and the super flyweight divisions. And she's hella marketable. So that's basically, that's pretty much what I want to say with regards to that. So big up, Shannon. Look forward to having you on the show in the future. And yeah, we can move on, seeing as you didn't see it, but or do you want to assess what you saw in the little footage? Or I'll put it back up and then you maybe talk over what you see. You're on mute.
Yeah, sure, please do. Because it's only a short bit, but I'm liking. She's got a good sense of distance. The opponent is obviously a willing opponent. She wants to get in. She wants to do work, but Shannon's moving. Look at her managing the distance really well, keeping that jab. Keeping the space. Always the sign of a good boxer, someone who controls distance. She can see the shots coming, and then she's able to, slip to the side and then fire and do her work. So very impressive from Shannon. I did have a quick word with her after a previous bout, and I like that she's very receptive to comments, because after the fight at the O2, when I spoke to her, she was like, "Yeah, can you tell me what I could do better?" And she's obviously one that's trying to perfect her craft by using as much feedback as she can. But yeah, great ring generalship. Look how she just read that hook coming in, rolled underneath and found the space and came back with a right. Fantastic. That's exactly what we're looking for. And yeah, long may that continue. Look forward to seeing her again.
Excellent, guys. No, I agree. And the things that you said is what we're working on now. And I think for me, the 2 minutes, like 4s, 6s, like I'm still understanding. I'm trying to get a lot done in 2 minutes when it's okay to not get so much done in 2 minutes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I need to, my second fight that I had, my second professional fight, I still think that's my best performance in terms of my relaxedness, the shots, the accuracy, the movement, the excessive movement that you're talking about. Again, I agree. There's spaces where it can be, because I'm so quick, I can move again because of the speed that I have. And I also think I'm too quick. There's times where I can dig, bam, and then roll off, then go again. So yeah, I think I do agree.
All right. We've got 2 last questions. Another super chat's coming, but before we get to that, I do have to be respectful to Maestro, one of our members. He has asked you a question. I think you kind of touched on it a little while ago, but if you could just again for him, he's like, how did you first get into martial arts?
I was 5 years old. My dad started off taekwondo, and then he went on to kickboxing, and he had his own gym. So I was kind of brought up into the sport basically, and didn't have a choice.
All right, and then the final super chat from Josh, your biggest fan again, although he doesn't listen very well because you answered this already, but could you answer it again? How many amateur bouts did you have?
I had 10, won 7, lost 3.
That's a winning record in my book. All good. Listen, Shannon, is there anything you'd like to say before we let you go, because we appreciate it's late?
No, just thanks everyone for the questions and tuning in, and thank you both for having me on. And if you ever want me on again, just send me a message and I'll be back.
No doubt.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. We will be on, and you are a member of the Great Defeaters right now, so you will be embraced as such. I will be at your next fight, so when you do have the information, please let me know. All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Respect.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Let me do it. There we go. All right. So thank you very much for watching. That is the end of the show. We don't have much else. There's nothing else really to bother covering in terms of the news. We pretty much got through all of it. We appreciate all the super chats. I appreciate all the member questions. I hope there wasn't any ones that I did miss. If I did, I apologize. Please feel free to let me know, and I'll make sure I address it next week. And yeah, hopefully we'll get another guest on at some point in the near future, within the next month or so. I've got a couple ideas, couple people I'm reaching out to. Tony's the same way. So we're trying to do things a little bit different, trying to keep people more engaged and have more people sort of tuning into the show overall. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. That is it for now. We will see you next week. It's gonna be a good one. Until then, peace.
Salute.